Hey guys, Jonathan Cavallari from Mr. Cavallari. So today I want to talk to you about some of the design details that you can do on making a custom sports jacket. So first things first, probably the most important part of an actual sports jacket itself, or any jacket for that matter, is the lapel. Right? So there's a couple different things that we can go about doing to make the lapel basically show off different things about your body, or hide or highlight different things about your body. So first thing that we kind of have to decide is whether we want to do a notch or a peak. The lapel that we have here is a notch lapel, and I'll show you a peak in just 1 second. So a peak is something like this, right? So if you look at the lapel here, see how this one is pointed, where if you look at my lapel, this one has a little cutout. Right, so this is a peak versus a notch lapel. Right, so most important part of getting a sports jacket is kind of deciding whether we want to do a peak or a notch. Things to think about when you are deciding between a peak or a notch is the formality of the actual jacket itself. Right, so if you want something slightly more formal and has more of a formal aspect or dressier occasion, for example, if you're going to like a black tie event, maybe a peak lapel might be a better option. If you're doing something that's kind of more everyday or more, let's say, business, for example, something like a notch would make a lot of sense for you. Other things that we can kind of change and decide on when we're doing a custom fitting or a custom design for a sports jacket is figuring out how big we want the lapel, right? So currently what you're looking at, this is a 10 centimeter lapel. Our standard is a 9, so we can make this bigger or smaller based on the client. If we want to highlight someone's chest, we make it a little bit bigger. But kind of the rule of thumb here in terms of lapel size is we basically want this point to this point. We want the lapel to kind of be in the middle of here, right? If you're kind of unsure what kind of lapel style you want, from this point to this point, we want the lapel kind of in the middle, somewhere in the middle. Right, so that's kind of the way to think about it. Another thing we can do that not a lot of people talk about or not a lot of people think about is actually the gorge line. So the gorge line is basically the line from where the collar and the lapel meet. So this line here. So we can go about moving this up or down, which is really interesting. We can put it lower down, right? If you think about it lower down, think about, movies in like the 30s where they would have, super low lapels, and they really want to accentuate the chest and accentuate size. And the higher we move this gorge line up, the more we accentuate someone's height, right? So we kind of elongate that silhouette. So that's probably the most important thing when you're deciding on, what kind of jackets you want to go for, or at least what kind of style you want to go for with a sports jacket. Other things to kind of decide are going to be buttons. Right, so for buttons, 2 buttons is kind of classic, right? So more often than not, you're mostly going to do a 2-button jacket. We can do a 1-button jacket. That being said, it's slightly more formal, right? When we think about black tie again, we're usually doing that 1 button. But then we have kind of something like this, right? So if you look at this mannequin here, it looks like a 2-button jacket, but underneath here, there's a hidden button and a hidden button hole. So this is called a 3-roll 2. And this is basically a nod to kind of Ivy League style, right? I can walk you through more of this in another video, but basically this is just to kind of like dress down a 2-button jacket a little bit. That's kind of the idea. Other things to decide are going to be the pockets. What you currently see here, these are patch pockets. So this is going to be our most casual pocket that we have. We do a Neapolitan style pocket. So if you look at the pocket, the top is slightly smaller than the bottom of the pocket, and it almost kind of looks like a teardrop, right? So this is the way we do our patch. Other options are going to be a jetted pocket, like what I'm wearing here, right? So just a little slit, and most times when we're doing something like this, we're doing it slightly dressier, or if we want to make a jacket really clean, specifically around the waist. And then last but not least is the patch pocket. So this is a patch pocket here. So if you look at it, it basically just has, or sorry, not patch, this is a flap pocket. So it just has a little flap on top of the pocket itself. But if you tuck this in, it becomes this pocket that I'm wearing here. For the back of the jacket, we got these two things. These are called vents. This allows us to basically give you like a little bit of room, specifically around the actual like seat area. And it's also great for, specifically a double vent is great for kind of tailoring away. So I like using a double vent versus using a single. Other options is doing no vents, and you'd kind of find that in traditional style tailoring, like really old school tailoring. All right, and then last two things. Sleeve buttons, right? So we do a surgeon cuff, which basically means these are functional buttons. So you could roll this up if you wanted. And then we do typically 4 kissing, but you don't have to do 4 kissing, you could do 3. And then you could separate these buttons, right, if you don't want them overlapped. And then last but not least, one of the interesting Neapolitan features that we do on some of our garments, specifically with sports jackets or more casual suits, is this thing right here. So this is called a spalla camicia. And basically what it is a pleated shoulder. So if you look at this jacket here, it has these subtle ripples kind of throughout the top of the sleeve. What the reason this is basically what they're doing is they're taking a wider sleeve and they're tucking the excess in the top and then overlapping this. Right? So this is a traditional Neapolitan style detail. The reason they go about doing this is to basically just add a little bit more functionality to the jacket. So just give it a little bit more space specifically when you're doing this, right? Neapolitan tailors say Italians like to hug. So adding a little bit of extra space gives you a little bit of more flexibility when you're hugging someone, for example. That being said, some people can think this looks a little unsightly, right? Some people prefer a cleaner shoulder, so we can totally do that as well. This is just an option that you have here with us. And that's it, guys. Outside of that, obviously we could choose lining, we could choose button. There's all kinds of different fabrics that you can kind of play around with the sports jacket. But those are kind of like the crucial details that you want to kind of take a look at when we're going about designing a jacket. And I'll walk you through those and talk about, you know, what's best for you, for example. But other than that, if you want to book an appointment for a sports jacket, please go to mrcavallari.com and feel free to hit me up. We'll talk soon, guys. Thanks.